Okay, so imagine this. One of the greatest storytellers of the 20th century, a man who literally mapped the journey of the soul for generations, leaves behind one final, secret manuscript. A text he wrote in his last days that completely flips the script on everything he ever taught. Well, today we're diving into that very manuscript.
Right from the preface, we get this bombshell. This is a startling confession from Hermann Hesse found after his death. Now, for a guy whose entire life's work was about finding wholeness, finding that synthesis, this is huge. He's basically saying, you know all that stuff I wrote? Well, I missed a step. A really, really big one.
You have to remember, for decades, Hesse was the guide for the inner journey. I mean, through books like Siddhartha and Steppenwolf, he taught us that the goal was to take all the warring parts of ourselves, the saint and the sinner, the wolf and the man, and bring them all together into one unified self. But then this manuscript comes along and says that whole destination, that idea of unity, it was maybe an illusion. It argues that he was right about the journey, but totally wrong about where it was supposed to end. Which, of course, raises the big question, what on earth did he find at the very end of his life that was so profound it made him want to rewrite his own legacy?
So how did this massive shift in thinking happen? Well, the manuscript claims it didn't come from years of meditation or study. It all started with a simple conversation with an unexpected visitor, a man named Emil Kolb, who showed up at Hesse's door with a question that would change everything.
And there it is. That's the question that detonates Hesse's entire philosophy. Kolb challenges the most basic assumption, that when you go inward, you're just finding more of yourself. He's proposing that at the very center of your being, you don't find unity, you find an encounter. You find someone else waiting for you.
And this, right here, this lays out the conflict perfectly. On the left, you've got Hesse's whole life's work, the search for unity, integration, wholeness, what he called the one. And on the right, you have Kolb's absolutely radical idea that the goal is actually a meeting, a relationship, a dialogue. It's about the two.
So what is this threshold they're talking about? Well, Kolb argued it's not some doorway you pass through on your way to enlightenment. It's where you live every single moment. It's that tiny gap between you, the thinker, and the thought you're having. We are always standing right on that border. And who's waiting for us at that threshold? The manuscript calls it the companion. Now this is the real mind-bender. This isn't your shadow self, it's not some Jungian archetype, it's not a part of you at all. The idea is that it's a completely separate, conscious presence that has been with you your entire life, totally unnoticed.
Okay, so this wasn't just some cool idea to debate. Kolb wasn't just talking philosophy. He claimed that you could directly experience this reality, that you could actually perceive this companion, and he had a simple practice for how to do it.
He called his method the practice of porosity. And I love that word, right? The idea is to make your mind less like a fortress and more, well, porous, more like a permeable screen. To just get quiet and open enough to notice a presence that has, as the text says, always been there. And the method itself is actually a pretty simple meditative shift. So first, you just look at something, then you become aware of yourself looking at it, but the key, the real kicker, is step 3. You ask the question, who notices the noticing? The manuscript claims that in that moment, in that gap, you create the space to perceive this other. So according to the manuscript, Hesse actually tries this practice for himself, and what happens next is a profound, world-altering vision. It's this vision that finally answers the central mystery of the companion. Which brings us to the ultimate question, right? If this presence has been patiently witnessing everything for eons, from the first spark of life up to you watching this right now, why? What's the point? What could it possibly want from us?
The answer, as it's revealed in Hesse's vision, is just devastatingly simple. It doesn't want worship, it doesn't want service, or for you to believe in it. It just wants to be seen. It wants to be acknowledged.
Now think about what this really means. The companion isn't just some cosmic stranger hanging out. It's the fundamental partner required for self-awareness to even exist. An eye can't see itself, right? Consciousness needs a mirror to know that it's conscious. The companion is that mirror. Our consciousness isn't a solo act. It is and has always been a duet. And this insight just reframes everything. The entire cosmic journey, all of spiritual seeking, all of evolution, it's all been leading to this one moment. The moment we finally turn around and acknowledge the partner who's been walking with us the entire time. So, completely transformed by this new reality, the manuscript says Hesse just abandoned all his old, complex philosophies. He distilled this entire cosmic truth into one final, incredibly simple teaching. And this really redefines the whole spiritual journey. It was never about arriving at some perfect state of enlightenment and being done. It was always and only about the meeting. It was always about the relationship.
So his final instruction wasn't some long, complicated system. It was just 3 simple commands. Turn. Turn your attention away from the endless search for yourself. Notice. Notice who is already and has always been there. And finally, meet them.
And that's where this lost manuscript leaves us, not with a neat little answer, but with a direct personal invitation. It suggests the greatest spiritual discovery isn't somewhere out there in the future, but it's right here, right now, built into the very fabric of our own awareness. And the only question it leaves us with is, are you going to look?